As Riot continues to nerf running and gunning in Valorant with patch 3.0, it has become increasingly important to learn how to correctly maintain accuracy in Valorant. Counter-strafing is one of the most difficult movement mechanics to learn in Valorant, but learning it will give you many advantages in your fights. Valorant Counter-Strafe Guide, everything you need to know. Counter-strafing is one of the most popular mechanics in FPS games, and for good reason. They can not only help in dodging bullets but are a great help when it comes to practicing target tracking, especially in Valorant. It is a technique that professional players often use in their gunfights to avoid enemy fire. However, they have advanced level tracking and movement which might be difficult for new players to pick up. That is why, it is a good idea to practice these mechanics in the training range first. Firstly, we will look at what counter-strafing is, then we will dive into how you can do it. We will also look at some tips for practicing it in range and justify why some players will have difficulty using this mechanic. What is counter-strafing? Counter-strafing is when you shoot accurate bursts while strafing. The idea of counter-strafing can initially sound counterintuitive. Valorant is supposed to be a tactical shooter with no running and gunning, right? Then how can you constantly be moving and also shoot accurately? The central mechanic to weapon accuracy in Valorant is that while moving or jumping, the game reduces your accuracy and increases bloom, which is the spread of your bullets. This is why you generally don't want to run and gun and instead want to stand still while shooting. But standing still also makes you an easier target. This is why many players strafe or move from side to side to avoid getting shot. One easier to combine shooting and strafing is to strafe shoot. This is when you strafe between your shots. Shoot, strafe, stop, repeat. Another way to both shoot and strafe is to counter-strafe. Counter-strafing is when you shoot the moment you change directions between your strafes. This allows you to strafe much faster but requires precise timing. This works because in a very small time frame as you are changing directions, your velocity is effectively zero and the game considers you to not be moving. In this small time frame, you can usually get 1 or 2 accurate shots through. But the timing can be quite difficult and takes practice. Why counter-strafe? Although counter-strafing can be difficult, it is worth learning. By comparing the previous GIFs, counter-strafing has much faster strafes, and it would be harder to hit an opponent doing it. There are also many applications for counter-strafing. The most obvious one is being able to shoot and strafe when there's no cover. 2 other scenarios are when jiggle peeking and coming to a standstill by using counter-strafing. Counter-strafing lets you shoot during your jiggle peek. Otherwise, you would have to completely stop to shoot, which makes it no longer a jiggle peek. Being able to jiggle peek can let you clear common angles extremely safely. Counter-strafing can also allow you to stop faster when you see an opponent. To do this, you have to press the opposite key of the direction you are moving in, instead of just letting go. This technique can help you stop a few milliseconds faster, which can make a difference in split-second gunfights. Now that you understand the benefits of knowing how to counter-strafe, let's go over the steps to learning how to counter-strafe. Step 1. Let's start off in the range. Once you get in, go to your crosshair settings and turn on movement error. This will let you visualize your error and understand the correct timing to shoot. Now take some time to get used to the dynamic crosshair. Step 2. Pick a weapon and start by counter-strafing in just one direction and focus solely on movement and timing without aiming. To do this, start by holding A to strafe left. Then let go of A and press D at the same time while also clicking to shoot accurately. Once you can do this consistently, start doing this in the other direction. You can practice on a wall or the practice range bot. Step 3. Next, combine the 2 directions from the previous step and start strafing side to side in both directions and counter-strafe to shoot accurate bursts. Hold A, then counter-strafe and hold D, and then counter-strafe and repeat. If this is difficult at first, you can do longer strafes between each of your bursts. As you improve, try to make the strafes and time between your shots shorter. Step 4. Now you can start working on hitting still targets and clearing angles using counter-strafes. For this, use the practice range spike diffusal on hard. Go through each angle that the bots can be and counter-strafe them with a jiggle. If there is a bot there, react and shoot. Practicing this can help you become accurate a bit faster and also let you go return to cover if you miss. Step 5. The final step in learning how to counter-strafe is to be able to aim while counter-strafing. You can either practice this in the shooting range or against real players in a deathmatch. A deathmatch can be more helpful because you can take a variety of different fights. Once you can consistently counter-strafe and subconsciously feel when you're accurate, you can turn off the movement error because it can be distracting. Tips to practice counter-strafing in range. Here are 4 of the best tips to learn and master the counter-strafe in the range in Valorant. Learn the movement first. The movement is the most important part of the mechanic. If you can create a rhythm with your A and D keys, you can focus on improving your aim. Practice target tracking. Select a bot to track in range, then hold the A or D key while keeping your crosshair on the head of the bot the whole time you are moving. Do this repeatedly to improve your tracking skills. Shoot 1 bullet on target after completing the first part of the strafe. Repeat this with the second part of the strafe. Make it a challenge so that you can only use 1 bullet to finish the enemy. Reduce the distance of your strafes. During the beginning, it is alright if your strafes are longer. Over time, if you reduce the distance, you will make it difficult for enemies to track and kill you because you will be constantly moving. Benefits of counter-strafing. Mastering counter-strafing in Valorant empowers players with these advantages, giving them a competitive edge in various situations. Enhanced accuracy. Counter-strafing allows for quick changes in movement direction, resulting in faster crosshair stabilization and increased shooting accuracy. This would also help you master first shot accuracy, avoiding recoil during a gunfight. Improved positioning. Players can shoot and strafe effectively even when no cover is available, giving them better control over engagements and positioning themselves advantageously. Jiggle peeking. Counter-strafing enables players to shoot while jiggling, allowing them to gather information from opponents without fully exposing themselves. This allows for the safer clearing of common angles. Quick engagement and disengagement. By counter-strafing, players can suddenly stand still faster when encountering an opponent. This allows quicker reactions, whether engaging in combat or disengaging, to reposition or retreat. Common mistakes to avoid. Improper timing. Failing to time the movement key's release and the opposite key's press correctly can result in inaccurate shots and compromised positioning. Slow execution. Performing counter-strafing too slowly can lead to delayed shots and reduced engagement effectiveness, making it easier for opponents to hit you. Lack of crosshair placement. Neglecting to have the crosshair position correctly before counter-strafing can result in missed shots and slower target acquisition. Overcommitting. Overstrafing can make your opponent see you, resulting in being hit or killed. Practicing counter-strafing. Practice in range, choose a weapon and begin practicing counter-strafing in one direction. Hold the A key to strafe left. Release A and press the D key simultaneously while clicking to shoot accurately. Practice this consistently, first in one direction and then in the other. Combine the 2 directions from the previous step and start strafing side to side. Counter-strafe and shoot accurate bursts. Hold A, counter-strafe, hold D, counter-strafe, and repeat. Start with longer strafes and gradually reduce the time between shots and the length of your strafes as you improve. Practice hitting still targets and clearing angles using counter-strafes. Use the practice range spike diffusal mode on the hard difficulty. Counter-strafe with a jiggle at each angle where bots could be positioned. React and shoot if you spot a bot. This practice will help you become more accurate and allow you to return to cover if you miss. Aim while counter-strafing. Practice in the shooting range or against real players in a deathmatch. Deathmatches provide various fights, allowing you to refine your counter-strafing skills. Once you can consistently counter-strafe and have a subconscious feel for when you're accurate, you can turn off the movement error feature as it may become distracting. Counter-strafing tactics and tagging. CS players in Valorant are well aware of the impact of tagging, which makes it crucial to strategize movement. Stressed Lord shares that tagging in Valorant can turn a fast-moving opponent into a relatively easy target. Therefore, strafing becomes an essential technique to make oneself harder to hit while readjusting aim. Affectionate Emu 9781 argues that once you're being shot at, movement becomes limited, and counter-strafing may not be effective. Instead, focusing on shooting back becomes the priority, emphasizing the need to be mindful of positioning and taking calculated shots. Aiming and consistency. Some players believe that in lower ranks, putting more emphasis on aim and consistency is crucial. UZPJ recommends working on calm aim, pre-aiming, and crosshair placement to climb up to diamond. While game sense is essential, it becomes more vital in higher ranks like Immortal. Beautiful_driver_451 agrees, stating that counter-strafing can be challenging and recommends learning to dead zone instead, which involves stopping movement quickly without relying on counter-strafing. This technique is considered faster and more practical in certain situations. Take the fight or not. Wolfell suggests that counter-strafing is an option to consider when tagged, but it should not be the primary plan of action. Being able to recognize when to commit to a fight or disengage can be more effective than solely relying on counter-strafing techniques. Temp Name 3 adds to the discussion, highlighting the importance of understanding the advantages and disadvantages of spraying versus tapping. Knowing when to commit to a spray duel and when to opt for tapping can help players make more informed decisions in Valorant. While there is no unanimous consensus on the effectiveness of counter-strafing, Valorant players share a variety of strategies and perspectives to help navigate the challenges of enemy gunfire. Adapting to different situations and finding a playstyle that suits individual strengths and preferences can ultimately lead to success on the battlefield. Applying counter-strafing. When attacking, adopt a slow and cautious pace, constantly aware that enemies could be waiting. Before peeking, ensure your crosshair is accurately positioned to enable quick and precise hits when an enemy appears. In face-to-face encounters, do not crouch. Instead, move sideways to evade incoming fire. Crouching has become a bad habit for many. Although sometimes it works, it is still now a reliable style. Counter-strafing is a more effective technique. Do not panic. Focus on your crosshair aim while moving sideways. Remember, one bullet to the head can kill your enemies instantly, especially when using Vandal or Phantom. When defending, take up a position that provides adequate cover, such as behind a wall or inside a box, while allowing you to quickly observe your enemies and potentially engage them in combat if the opportunity arises. Utilize counter-strafing as a means to gather information effectively. If you encounter many enemies, refrain from engaging and instead retreat to a safer position. Request assistance from reinforcements to bolster your position. Why counter-strafing is important in Valorant. Counter-strafing is a critical skill to master in Valorant because it allows you to shoot accurately much sooner after movement. While Valorant's shooting retains pinpoint precision for a brief period when initially stopping movement, counter-strafing drastically shortens this wait time. By quickly tapping the opposing movement key, you rapidly shed all momentum in your character's animation. This lets you exit movement into an accurate shot almost instantly compared to naturally sliding to a halt. Implementing precise counter-strafing makes a world of difference in one-on-one aim duels. You gain the evasive benefit of jiggle peeking or sporadic strafing, but can tap fire with perfect accuracy in between movements much faster. If mastered, your crosshair will require minimal adjustment as you swing out to pop off shots. This makes landing the first headshot or winning reactionary trades more consistent. With how much movement impacts shooting accuracy in Valorant, counter-strafing creates a major accuracy and dueling advantage. It essentially lets you dodge and shoot rapidly with precision. And during executes or retakes, you can push angles more confidently knowing your firing accuracy will be on point quicker after clearing each corner or evading. Applying counter-strafing to your movement arsenal is essential to reach your peak fragging potential. Why some players should not counter-strafe. If counter-strafing has pros, then without a doubt it has cons as well. It has received a lot of criticism from professional players due to its inconsistency in the game. Some people find it hard to learn the mechanic while others criticize its use in games. The truth is that the mechanic is not useful in every scenario. That is why it should be used sparingly. For example, if you are in cover, you do not need to venture out and counter-strafe to kill an enemy, you can do the same thing while jiggle peeking. Good counter-strafers know when to use the mechanic, which makes them better than most players out there. Be situationally aware and ensure that you only use it when you know it is the right time. That is everything you need to know about counter-strafing in the game. For more Valorant guides and content, click here and stay tuned to the Sports Rush. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest news and updates. Drop a comment below sharing your favorite gaming setup tips or what you'd like to see next on the channel. Let's build a gaming community together.